My name is Nora. I'm 29, and last month, my mother sold the beach house my grandmother left me so my brother could take a luxury vacation. She looked me in the eye and said, "You don't need a house. You have a good job." He just laughed, joking he needed a break more than I needed a roof. I discovered it was real when a bank alert flashed on my screen at work, a notification for a six-figure transfer linked to the property Grandma had put in my name. I thought it was a system error, but the attached documents showed a closed sale. My signature was on nothing. My grandmother spent years telling me that place would be my safety net, the one thing no one could take. And somehow my mother turned it into a plane ticket and a week at a resort for her favorite child. While they posted sunset cocktails online, I replayed every childhood memory in that house. And every time I've been told to be understanding for the sake of family, this time I wasn't. I called my lawyer. 2 weeks later, one letter went out with 4 words that changed everything for them. "You have 48 hours. You might believe your own family would never cross that line. Stay until the end, and then tell me what you would have done." When that email loaded, I knew it wasn't a glitch. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to my mother's neighborhood, my hands shaking on the wheel. I kept hoping for an explanation, a title company mistake, a clerical error. Then I turned onto her street and saw the bright red sold sign in front of the ranch house she'd bragged about flipping. For a second, I almost laughed. It felt like the universe mocking me with sold signs, while the only thing I ever cared about was sold out from under me. My brother Ethan opened the door before I could knock, barefoot, phone in one hand, a half-finished drink in the other. He was scrolling through photos of himself on a beach somewhere with bright blue water, not Oregon gray. "Hey, sis," he said, as if we were just catching up. "You see the pictures? Bali was insane. I needed that reset." I pushed past him. "Did Mom tell you where that money came from?" He paused, then shrugged. "It's family money. You don't even live by the coast. You've got a solid job, benefits." "I've been drowning. I needed a vacation." My jaw clenched. She sold the house Grandma put in my name. That was the one thing she left me. The garage door opened. My mother walked in, still in her real estate blazer, flyers in hand, phone wedged on her shoulder. She froze when she saw me, muttered, "I'll call you back," and hung up. "Nora, what are you doing here in the middle of the day?" "You sold Grandma Maggie's house," I said, skipping any greeting. "I got the transfer alert. I saw the closing documents. My signature is nowhere." She sighed like I was a difficult client. "Okay, first, calm down. Nobody did anything to hurt you. Your grandmother left that place so this family would be okay. You're already okay. You work in tech. You have savings. You're not the one maxing out cards to keep the lights on." Ethan snorted from the couch. "Yeah, she's fine. She just doesn't like when we finally catch a break." I turned to him. "A break? That was my inheritance, my safety nets, the place Grandma promised would always be there." Mom stepped closer, voice lowered as if reasoning with a child. "Your brother's been in a bad place, depressed, burned out, working nights and still can't get ahead. I am thousands in debt from helping him. The beach house was just sitting there. You never visit. Your grandmother would have wanted us to use it to help him." "By selling it without telling me?" I asked. "By forging my consent." She barely rolled her eyes. "I didn't forge anything. I used the power of attorney I already had. Remember when your grandmother was sick? I still had the papers. I signed as her agent. It's all legal. It's family. I thought you'd understand." Something cold settled in my chest. "That power of attorney ended when she died. You know that. You can't keep using it like a coupon that never expires." For a flicker, something like fear crossed her face, then vanished into irritation. "You're overreacting. You don't need that house. Your brother needed a break before he lost it. I'm drowning in debt. I'll pay you back over time." Ethan nodded. "Exactly, we're family. Why are you making this weird?" I looked at them, my mother in her blazer, my brother in his vacation tee, and realized they genuinely believed I was the problem. Every time I'd swallowed things as a kid, every time I'd been told to let him have the bigger piece, the better gift, the extra help, it all landed at once. "You didn't just sell a house. I said quietly. You showed me exactly where I stand. She opened her mouth, probably to say I was being dramatic, but I was already turning. Where are you going? She called. To talk to someone who actually respects what Grandma left me, I said. My lawyer. I didn't go home. I sat in my car outside her house, engine cold, staring at that sold sign. I scrolled through old emails until I found one from Jasmine Ortiz. The subject line was a joke from years ago. If your family ever screws up your inheritance, you know who to call. Right then, it felt like a dare. We met freshman year in a statistics class. She was now a lawyer in Portland, specializing in consumer and financial fraud. I worked with data. She worked with paperwork that could ruin lives. I called before I could talk myself out of it. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, stranger. Everything okay? My mom sold my grandmother's beach house, I said, my voice flat. She used an old power of attorney, didn't tell me, and used the money to send my brother to Bali and pay her cards. The closing documents have no trace of me. A pause, the shift from friend to professional. Do you have the trust documents, the will? Yes. Grandma kept everything in a blue binder. Good. Grab it. And the bank email? Meet me at the taco place on Burnside in an hour. An hour later, I slid into a booth across from her. The blue binder between us. She comes straight from court, sharp-eyed, hair pulled back. Walk me through what you know, she said. I told her everything. The alert, the transfer, the sale I never signed. My mother's claim that it was legal because we're family. Jasmine's pen moved quickly over her legal pad. She flipped pages, then tapped one. This is the living trust. It names you as sole beneficiary of the beach house and an investment account after your grandmother's death. Once you passed, this trust became irrevocable. Your mother doesn't get to liquidate assets because life is hard. She pulled out the power of attorney. This was valid while your grandmother was alive and incapacitated. See here? Authority terminates upon her death. Using this to sign off on a sale after she died isn't just shady. It's fraud. She misrepresented her authority to the title company and the buyer. My stomach twisted. So she broke the law. Jasmine nodded. She used expired authority to sell an asset that legally belonged to you, then redirected the proceeds. That's misappropriation of trust property. Civil fraud at minimum. But La Lisa, like a real me. She pulled the bank email closer. The sale proceeds went into her account. Yes. Okay. We send a demand letter. It lays out exactly what she did, the trust terms, the expired power of attorney, the sale, the transfer, the use of funds for non-beneficiary purposes. We give her 48 hours from receipt to either return the full amount to an account we control or sign a repayment agreement secured by her remaining assets. Why so fast? Because she's already spent a chunk. Vacation, credit cards. The longer we wait, the more disappears. 48 hours sends a message. This isn't a family squabble. It's a legal emergency. If she ignores it, we file suit for breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, conversion. We can ask for the house's value, interest, attorney's fees. Given her debts, that could push her into bankruptcy. I stared at my grandmother's handwriting in the margins, little notes, like for Nora's future and must protect this. If I do this, I'm blowing up what's left of my family. Jasmine softened slightly. Nora, she already lit the match. You just deciding whether to stand there and let it burn you, or put the fire out. You don't have to please anyone. Do it to honor your grandmother and protect yourself. I took a breath. Something clicked into place, like a lock turning. I'd spent my life swallowing unfairness to keep peace. The peace was gone. Send the letter, I said. 48 hours. After that, we go to court. Jasmine pulled a template from her folder. Good. Let's give them a deadline they can't laugh off. 2 weeks later, she slid a printed copy across her desk before hitting send. 3 pages of calm, precise language that felt sharper than any shout. It outlined everything. The trust, my beneficiary status, the expired authority, the sale dates, the amounts, even screenshots of Ethan's vacation posts. At the bottom, in bold, recipient has 48 hours from confirmed receipt to remit the full sale proceeds or execute a secured repayment agreement. Failure to comply will result in immediate legal action. Once I send this, you can't unring the bell, Jasmine said quietly. I nodded. Ring it. She clicked send. Certified mail went out that afternoon. My mother got the email first. My phone lit up with her name the next morning at my desk. I answered. Nora, what is this? She snapped. No, hello. Her voice was high, in the tone she used when deals fell through. I just got some ridiculous letter from your lawyer about fraud and lawsuits. You're threatening to drag your own mother into court? I'm asking you to return what you stole, I said evenly. You sold a house that wasn't yours, using authority you didn't have. That's not a misunderstanding. She laughed humorless. Stole? Listen to yourself. It's family money. Your grandmother wanted that house to take care of us. I've been drowning. Do you think I enjoy being behind on every bill? Getting calls from collectors? Watching your brother fall apart? So you fixed it by committing fraud, I said. But to know me, they will know me. She ignored that. You're fine. You have a salary, a 401, check, insurance. Your brother has nothing. That trip was to clear his head. And yes, I paid down cards because I was about to lose my mind. I did what I had to for this family. Now, you and some stranger in a blazer think you'll scare me with threats. She's not a stranger. She's my lawyer, and she's outlining consequences. You have 48 hours to start making this right. 48 hours? She spat. You think I'm sitting on a vault of cash? Most of the money is gone. Resorts don't refund everything. The cards were past due. I can't magic up over 100,000 by Friday. My chest tightened. It was like watching someone burn your house down and expect a hug because they were cold. Then you shouldn't have spent it. You chose to. You chose him again at my expense. This time there are laws involved. She went quiet, then shifted tactics. You're really going to do this to your own mother? Voice wobbling. Take me to court? Ruin my credit? Drag our name through mud over some empty building on the coast? I am your family. That girl in a suit isn't. When she's moved on, I'm still the one who carried you for 9 months. I'd heard that line my whole life, pulled out whenever she needed me to fall in line. This time, it just made me tired. You used that building as your personal ATM, I said. You didn't talk to me. You didn't ask. You assumed I'd swallow it because we're family. I'm not doing that anymore. A notification flashed Ethan texting. Seriously? You sent Mom some legal crap. You're losing it. Then another. You know the money's gone, right? It was barely enough. I needed that trip. I scrolled up, seeing the muted photos, infinity pools, cocktails, first-class headphones. All of it now looked like crime scene evidence. Look, my mom was saying. I can give you something. A few thousand next month. More after I close the Parker listing. We can set up a plan. Cancel the lawsuit. We'll handle this like adults. Adults don't hide sales contracts, I said. This isn't a game show. The 48 hours are a chance before a judge gets involved. If you're serious about paying back, talk to my lawyer. Sign what she sends. Put it in writing with collateral. Otherwise, we go to court. Collateral, she repeated, outraged. You want to take my house? The roof over your brother's head? I didn't say that. But if you can't pay, the court will look at what you have. That's how it works for everyone. You don't get a different system because you're my mother. She started to cry, then loud, dramatic sobs that used to tear me apart. You're heartless. I can't believe I raised someone who would do this. After everything I've sacrificed. I closed my eyes, feeling old guilt rise and fade. You didn't raise me alone, I said quietly. Grandma did a lot of the heavy lifting. She's the one who left me something. And I'm finally acting like it matters. If you want to fix this, call Jasmine. If not, I'll see you in court. I hung up. More texts from Ethan rolled in, jokes, insults, guilt trips. I set the phone face down and looked at the blue binder. For the first time, I let myself see my mother not as a victim of circumstances, but as an adult who made choices. She decided his vacation mattered more than my inheritance. Now she'd find out what it felt like when someone finally said no. The 48 hours passed with no word. I called Jasmine. she answered with a sigh that said everything. She had another lawyer look at the letter, Jasmine said. He replied that your mother disputes any wrongdoing and believes the sale was within her authority. No offer, no repayment. I stared out at the drizzle. So she's doubling down. She is. Which means we're done asking nicely. Next step is filing the lawsuit. Once we do, she'll have deadlines she can't guilt trip or ignore. My stomach turned, but under it was something solid. Violets. Pride, breach of fiduciary duty, all of it. I want the court to see exactly what she did. Okay, Jasmine said. I'll draft the complaint. But if we're going to war, I want everything, screenshots, texts, emails, showing what she knew and when. I thought of Ethan's messages. I can get more. From him, too. He knows more than he's saying. Then talk to him one more time, she said, in person. People get honest when they think they're still winning. That evening, I drove to my mother's house. Ethan's car was in the driveway. He opened the door with a frown. Wow, brave showing up. Mom's been wrecked since her legal grenade. Is she home? No, showing a townhouse. Why? Good. I came to talk to you. We stood in the kitchen, him leaning against the counter, me at the table where I'd done homework while Grandma corrected my math. If this is about you suing Mom, it's pathetic, he said. You have everything and you're acting like we robbed you at gunpoint. I ignored that. How long did you really know about the house? Not just that she was thinking about it, but that she was actually selling it with Grandma's old power of attorney? His jaw tightened. What does that matter? It matters. You don't just wake up with first-class tickets. She talked to you. He exhaled. She told me months ago she was trying to unlock the house. Said Grandma put everything in your name because you're the responsible one, but that you don't appreciate what he could do for the rest of us. She said she had papers, authority as Grandma's agent, that it wasn't really wrong, just bending things. And that didn't sound bad to you, I asked. He shrugged. I asked if you knew. She said you'd make it complicated, that you always think worst case. She said she'd handle it and talk to you when things calm down. Then the sale went through, the money hit, and she told me to pack a bag. He gave a short, bitter laugh. I figured if she was willing to go that far, it must be legit enough. I'm not a lawyer. I just wanted out for a week. Did she ever say the power of attorney might not be valid anymore? That Grandma being dead changed anything? He hesitated, torn between protecting her and himself. She said something like, technically these things have timelines, but nobody checks that closely. She joked, half of real estate is knowing which rules actually matter. I thought she was just venting. The words landed like a gavel. You realize that's her admitting she knew it was wrong. She didn't accidentally grab the wrong form. She gambled no one would look. Ethan flinched. What do you want me to say? That I should have stopped her? Called you? I didn't. I wanted the trip. I wanted a break from feeling like a loser every time I opened my bank app. So I shut up. You happy? No, I said. But when it's Plalisa, like a real me, opened our text thread, scrolled to his messages about the money being gone. I'm suing her. That's happening. If she drags you into it, if you stonewall, it gets ugly. You can keep pretending you're just a passenger, or you can help fix it. How? By telling the truth. Give my lawyer your messages, screenshots, anything that shows she knew the power of attorney was expired and that she sold the house anyway, that she told you I'd say no, so she cut me out. If you cooperate, Jasmine can keep the focus on her choices. If you don't, a judge might not see you as an innocent bystander. He sank into a chair, rubbing his face. You're asking me to testify against Mom. I'm asking you to stop lying for her. You can still love her, but she made choices that hurt you too. You're the one stuck with her mess when she can't get approved for anything. Do you really think she'll start making better decisions if no one holds her accountable? He sat silently, then looked up. If I send you the screenshots, tell your lawyer what I told you, can she keep me out of the worst of it? She can make it clear you're cooperating. You didn't sign anything and didn't profit long term. But I'm not going to lie for you. I'm done being the only one who takes the hit. He swallowed, nodded. Fine, I'll send them. Not because I'm suddenly on your side, but because I'm tired of feeling like I'm in the middle of a car crash I can't stop. On my way out, my phone buzzed a stream of images and screenshots from Ethan, forwarded without comment. In the driveway, I forwarded everything to Jasmine with one line he knew. She knew. Use what you need. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was blowing up the family. I felt like I'd stepped out of the blast zone and handed the truth to someone who knew what to do with it. By the court date, the story felt like it belonged to the filings. The docket number. Jasmine sat beside me at the counsel table, a slim binder of exhibits before us. Across the aisle, my mother sat with her attorney, jaw tight. Ethan hovered behind her in the first row, swallowed by a too-big jacket. When the judge entered, my knees trembled once, then steadied. This wasn't a family fight I could be guilted out of. This was a room where facts mattered. Jasmine started with the trust. She walked the judge through the language like a recipe. As the court can see, she said, tapping a highlighted paragraph. Upon Miss Rowan's death, the seaside property and associated account became irrevocably held for the benefit of her granddaughter, my client, Nora Lane. The defendant, Miss Linda Lane, is not a beneficiary. She had no ownership interest after Miss Rowan's death. My mother's lawyer argued that my grandmother intended the house to help the whole family, that she always talked about taking care of everyone. The judge listened, then pointed to the page. Intent is expressed here. The beneficiary is clearly identified. Jasmine moved to the power of attorney. Your Honor, this document granted Ms. Lane authority to act on her mother's behalf while she was alive and incapacitated. The termination clause explicitly states authority ends upon the principal's death. Nevertheless, Miss Lane used this expired document over a year after Ms. Rowan passed to sign off on the sale. The judge looked at my mother. Miss Lane, did you understand your authority ended when your mother died? Her lawyer jumped in, saying she wasn't a legal expert. It was an honest misunderstanding. Jasmine stood. With the court's permission, we'll let Ms. Lane explain in her own words. On the stand, my mother repeated her story, the bills, Ethan struggling, family coming first. She claimed she thought the power of attorney still worked as long as the house was in the trust. I wasn't trying to steal from my daughter. I was trying to keep us afloat. Jasmine waited, then approached with a printed page. Do you recognize this text message? My mother frowned, nodded. Yes. Dated 3 weeks before closing, Jasmine said. I'll read one line. Technically, these power of attorney things have timelines, but nobody checks that closely. Title just wants signatures and clean numbers, not a lecture on when Grandma died. Did I read that correctly? My mother's eyes flicked toward Ethan. I was venting. I didn't mean, did you send that message? Yes. So at the time you signed the sale documents, you knew there were timelines on the authority you were using, and you chose to proceed anyway, expecting no one would check. My mother didn't answer. The silence said enough. Jasmine called me next. I testified about summers at the beach house, the blue binder, Grandma's notes saying for Nora's future. I described the bank email, confronting my mother, hearing her say I didn't need the house because I had a good job. Jasmine entered Ethan's screenshots, the vacation texts, the admission the money was gone, the messages where he repeated my mother's line that I'd just make it complicated. Ethan took the stand. He looked like he wanted to disappear, but he answered, yes. His mother had joked about title companies not checking dates. Yes, she said I'd say no if asked. Yes, she knew the house was supposed to be mine. When her lawyer tried to paint him as clueless, Ethan surprised me. I might not know the law, he said, but I knew if it was really no big deal, Mom would have told Nora up front. She didn't. After arguments, the judge stepped out, then returned with a decision that sounded like a verdict on years of history. He found my mother had breached her fiduciary duty, misused expired authority, and converted trust property for personal use. He quoted the trust, emphasizing the plan had always been clear. Accordingly, this court orders that Miss Linda Lane is liable to Miss Nora Lane in the amount of the full fair market value of the seaside property at the time of sale, plus interest from the date of closing, plus reasonable attorney's fees and costs. The number he read made my mother's hand fly to her mouth. He added that using the proceeds for debts and a vacation did not turn this into a harmless family misunderstanding. It remained misappropriation. Her lawyer asked about payment plans, hardship, protecting her primary residence. The judge explained, patient but firm, that if she couldn't pay, enforcement and possibly bankruptcy would follow. Her house, accounts, commissions, all could be reached like anyone else's. In the hallway afterward, she rounded on me, eyes red and wild. Are you happy? You just ruined your own mother. I'll lose my house, everything. Because my daughter decided money mattered more than family. I met her gaze. You didn't lose everything because I went to court. You lost it when you sold something that wasn't yours and assumed I'd let it slide. I didn't make you max out cards or send Ethan on a 5-star trip. Those were your choices. Ethan stood a few steps away, looking between us like he finally understood there was no safe middle. Nora, what happens now? He asked quietly. Now I enforce the judgment, I said. The system does what it does. You keep working. I keep working. Mom talks to a bankruptcy lawyer. We all live with what we did. My mother shook her head as if she couldn't process my calm. You'll regret this. One day when I'm gone, and you realize you destroyed our family over a beach house. I thought of my grandmother's careful notes. Every time I'd been pushed aside because I could handle it. Grandma trusted me to protect what she left, I said. I'd regret it more if I let you erase her wishes because you couldn't stop treating me like an emergency fund. This isn't about a beach house. It's about you thinking my boundaries were optional. Jasmine touched my elbow. We walked toward the exit, the judgment in her bag feeling heavy and final. Behind us, my mother's voice rose into a choked curse. But for once, I didn't turn back. I'd spent my life orbiting her crises. For the first time, I was walking straight ahead toward a future she didn't control. In the months after, fallout came in waves. Sick envelopes arrived at my mother's house from creditors and attorneys. When she couldn't make the payments, the conversation shifted to what would be sold. Her house went on the market months later, not with her smiling face on the sign, but with the bank's logo. The woman who bragged about closing difficult deals was forced out of a home she thought she'd never lose. Ethan texted me the day the movers came. A photo of the empty living room with the caption, "This is really happening." I didn't reply. I didn't gloat. It felt like gravity finally doing its job. My mother ended up in a small rental across town, a beige apartment with thin walls. Her credit was wrecked, cards frozen, commissions garnished. The life she built on maxed-out promises collapsed down to what she could actually afford. Ethan took more hours at the warehouse. DJ gigs became side money, not an excuse to avoid work. He stopped posting vacations and started posting about overtime and cheap dinners. We weren't suddenly close, but sometimes he'd send a late-night text that sounded more like the kid I grew up with. I get it more now, he wrote once. What it means when people say someone always pays. Turns out it was you for a long time. I'm sorry for that. I stared at that message before answering. I'm glad you're starting to see it. That's your work, not mine. Keep going. On my side, life didn't become a fairy tale. I still worked my job, dealt with deadlines. But the judgment money, as it came through structured payments and seized assets, didn't feel like a lottery win. It felt like something my grandmother had tried to give me twice, and I'd finally held on to. I didn't rush to buy another beach house. I sat with a financial planner, set up an investment account in my grandmother's name, a fund to grow slowly, partly for my future, partly for something she would have loved. On Saturdays, I started hosting workshops in a library community room. It began with friends who wanted to know how to protect their finances from family blow-ups. Then strangers came. I talked about basics, trusts, reading what you sign, setting boundaries around money with people you love. I told them in general terms about a grandmother who tried to protect her granddaughter and a mother who thought those protections were optional. I watched people nod, cry, laugh in recognition. It was the closest thing to healing I'd felt. A year after the court date, a therapist recommended for family reconciliation reached out about a joint session with my mother and Ethan. I almost said no. and I thought about nights lying awake, wondering if I was the villain in some version of the story my mother told herself. I made the appointment not for her, but for me. In the session, my mother did what she always did at first. She cried. She talked about bills, fear, feeling abandoned by everyone, including her own mother. She said I'd turned my back when she needed me most. For the first time, I didn't rush to reassure her. I let her words sit, then told my version in front of a neutral third party. I talked about being the responsible one, the one who always got less because I could handle it, the one no one thought to protect while they scrambled to save my brother from every consequence. I talked about the house, the trust, the blue binder, the sick feeling seeing those sale papers without my name. When I finished, my mother didn't transform into someone enlightened, but she went quiet. And for the first time she said, I knew you'd be okay. So I didn't think about what it would do to you. I just thought about how scared I was. It wasn't enough to erase what she'd done. It was enough for me to understand that her selfishness came from weakness, not a grand plan to destroy me. I told her I forgave her, for my sake. Not because what she did was forgivable in the usual sense, but because I wasn't going to spend my life letting her choices live rent-free in my head. Forgiveness for me looked like boundaries, holiday texts instead of holidays together, answering some calls, letting others go to voicemail, sending credit counseling information, and stepping back so she could decide whether to use it. I stopped trying to fix her. I started choosing myself on purpose. If there's anything I took from this besides legal documents and a complicated relationship with the word family, it's this. Love and accountability are not opposites. You can care about someone and still refuse to let them steal from you, lie to you, or rewrite your future to clean up their past. You can honor those who tried to protect you by finally protecting yourself. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do, even when it looks like revenge from the outside, is to stop being the person everyone assumes will quietly absorb the damage. Maybe you've never had your mother sell your house to fund your brother's vacation. But if you've ever felt like the responsible one who keeps paying for everyone else's mistakes, you know a piece of this story. If you were in my place, would you have sent that 48-hour letter, or would you have walked away and tried to forget the house ever existed?